I'm not interested in what not to do. I'm interested in what to do. Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people to explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. We help people understand that life is not composed of years or months or weeks or days. It's composed of moments. And we use this term, this overly used term, mindfulness, to help people stay in the moment and focus on what's right in front of them. The only requirement for entry into this podcast is the honesty, open-mindedness, and the willingness to try. And if you have a few stardust sprinkles of each one of those, you're on your way. Welcome aboard. My name's Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist. And today, as most always, I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and producer to this program, Mr. Mike.
Good to be here, and I understand you're going to be talking about a potentially new life skill I'm going to be using.
We're talking about a life skill, and our friend Carl Jung, some people call it Jung. I don't know. I've never heard him pronounce his own name. But we want to look at things with what he would term as a differentiated perspective. Okay. So I always refer back to the 12-step world, as most people know. And in the chapter, there is a solution, which is chapter 2. It says in there, we have written this book to show you precisely how we have recovered. Now, this is not a podcast of platitudes or maybes or ifs or some type of Shakespearean type of oration that is going to boggle your mind. And then after you're done, you figure, what did he say? This is a straightforward podcast about how to change things in your life. So normally, when things go wrong, Mike, I always use the assembly line process.
Mm-hmm.
When a product is faulty, and it comes off the assembly line, and if enough are faulty, usually they go back through all these processes, even back to the manufacturer, back to where the manufacturer got that product from, and try to determine what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is an issue that I have with many rehabs. I'm going to go speak at one tomorrow, and they still invite me back. So I'm not interested in how the donkey got in the ditch. I'm not interested in hearing the horror story of their life yet once again. It needs to be told. It's very important. But I want to know, I'm more focused on, Mike, when things go right. When somebody says they relapsed, I say, okay, so you did. But when somebody tells me I'm clean and sober now, that perks my interest. I want to know how they did that. So what we do, Mike, is we want to look when we have a positive outcome. Let's look at the people, places, things, circumstances, and events that produce that positive outcome. Outline those and add to and reinforce them. Were you ever called into the principal's office, or were you ever disciplined by a teacher when you were in school?
Yes, that certainly.
Okay. Were you ever called into the principal's office, or did the teacher want to speak to you privately to tell you, and they were amazed at how well things were going in your life and how good you were doing in school, and they wanted to know the exact steps that you were using to produce that positive outcome?
No, it's just like positive. You just kind of move on at that point, right? Like, so there was like, hey, something's working, so let's not. They're more concentrated on the problem, people, right?
So it's when you get a performance evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
People get performance reviews every year, every 6 months, whatever, and usually it's focused on what they can improve on,
mm-hmm.
not what they can do, what they're doing right. It just boggles my mind that we just continue to focus on the negative. Now, tell me, Mike, you run a crew of people, you run a crew of technicians
mm-hmm.
that do videotaping, editing, sound checks, all these different types of things, and things do go wrong.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, you're really, with live production, you're really flying without a net, and things can happen for sure.
So when you have a staff meeting or you recap the performance, you recap what you folks did, do you ever point out what went right?
Probably not enough. There's definitely a, hey, how can we improve this kind of thing? We especially on the training nights, I try to pull people aside, especially, with somebody really, really new, to be like, hey, this is what's going good. You're really, really good at this, and do the whole line of like, maybe just explaining something that maybe happened during it. But we do try to stay positive and highlight things. I actually have in my Slack a props thread to make sure I'm like, hey, so-and-so is really killing it doing this over here, or hey, we got compliments about this, kind of thing. And that goes to you guys because you worked on this kind of thing, right?
I believe it's important for you to say that in front of everyone. Mm-hmm. John, I've noticed that the sound quality on this video was exceptionally crisp and fine.
Absolutely.
How did you do that? Could you go through the process on how that happened?
Absolutely. And that's one of those things. Conceptually, that's why I have that that thread is to have that and hopefully start a conversation about what worked with the project. Yeah.
When things go well, we want to add to and reinforce the positive things that work. Mm-hmm. If I sat down with somebody when I'm working with somebody in recovery and the only thing I focused on was the times that they had relapsed, how do you think that would go?
It would just deflate them, and probably not be a positive on them.
It would just reinforce the idea that they're hopeless. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That this is all we talk about is my relapses. I'm much more focused on when things go right, mm-hmm. to break that down. And we often talk about journaling in therapy, and most people are so resistant to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you ever write up after a synopsis of your shows?
I don't. Usually it's a time issue, but I really don't. I am trying to do like documents around what works, doesn't work. What did we learn from this? Document what we did to pull it off, especially these larger ones we're doing on big racetracks and things like that. So like it's more just so we can remember next time when we do it a year from now.
Yes. Well, the positive things need add to mm-hmm. and they need reinforced.
Yes. So we do it again. And we execute again, to be successful,
Well, correct. So we would love to hear on the show any thoughts or comments that you've had, how this worked in your life, how pointing out the negative chain events mm-hmm. did not work, and how pointing out the positive events did work.
Right.
Where do you think, Mike, that some of this positive chain analysis would be most effective?
I mostly am thinking in the production side, and it is just like that reassurance for people that they're on the right track.
Oh, hi, Jim Ellermeyer back again from Fishing Without Bait. And as we offer and express transparency, this is a shameless plug for a book that we are selling. This is a 365-day calendar where we have a Zen type of picture to draw with a caption, and then we ask some thoughtful questions that people can answer, such as, what are your general thoughts about the quote? What is the morning thought in the morning? What is your evening thought? And what will you do tomorrow to spread kindness? Okay? And the beauty of this is that it's not numbered. You can pick any page out. It's not numbered. You can pick any day out and pick any quote out you want, or not. So what we're doing, we're asking people to use this as some type of a mindfulness activity to start their day. When we start our day, not trying to race through the day or with anxiety, but rather maybe some introspective self-talk, some internal validation. And what we're doing here is this. Also, what we'd like to do, we're going to be offering some Patreon material, maybe some behind the themes things, or some of the podcasts that we've done where we take a deeper dive, and we'd like to get your thoughts on that. What would you like to see? Are there any podcasts that we've done where you would like us to do a deeper dive? So you can please contact the show, and we'd be glad to explore that. And as always, we're looking for stories of recovery. Everybody's in recovery from something. We like to know how you got here from there. And please be good to yourself. And yes, this is a shameless plug. So you've seen more than one wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you've seen some ones that were rather awkward and painful to watch.
Yes, especially with all the newer wrestlers that we work with that are very, very young.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you ever work with, I'm sure you've seen some and have been acquainted with some people who are excellent technicians and really put on a great performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever sat down with a wrestler after a great performance and asked them how that worked?
Well, no, because I try to keep the magic alive in wrestling a little bit. But no, there is I do have guys that we, like our friend Zeke that's been on the show. That we do have conversations about, like, hey, I really liked how this happened and stuff. More casually, I think that happens. And also, like, I don't get a lot of opportunity to kind of sit down with these guys after because I'm usually still working through, on my side. But no, we do have a conversation about like kind of some of the emotional points of matches and things like that, and how that kind of works out too. Yeah.
No, I'm not interested in what not to do. I'm interested in what to do.
Absolutely.
So my suggestion is that everyone out there, when there's a positive event, a positive experience, a positive outcome in your life, maybe a loved one's life, maybe your children's life, maybe you did exceptionally well at work, something like that, I would suggest that you go back through and pick out the people, places, things, circumstances, and events that produced that positive outcome and add to and reinforce those. For those of you who are teachers out there, when you have a student who does a good job on a paper that otherwise they would not have not in the past, I would suggest you sit down with them and ask them, say, I'm really impressed with the way that this paper turned out. I'm really impressed with the way you did this assignment. Could you tell me how that happened? What did you put into this that made this positive outcome? That increases a person's self-concept, that increases a person's self-esteem. So this isn't grandiose. This isn't type of toxic positivity or cheerleading. You have a genuine curiosity that when things turn out well, then you want to find out how that happened. This may be one of my quirks that I have, but as you probably know, Mike, I'm quite an aficionado of iced tea. And I can tell nuances of tea, what I like. And I remember particularly, I went to a wedding maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and the iced tea was so outstanding that I went in the back and I had them explain to me how they brewed it and what type of tea and what type of they did. And when I went back there and talked to them about how fine I thought their iced tea was, how satisfying, how crisp it was, how enjoyable it was, they were more than happy to go through the process with me about how that
somebody appreciates their technique at that point. Yeah.
Yes. So for those of you out there, I would suggest when your child does something well, praise them, of course, but then go through the steps on how that happened. And when something doesn't go well, I would suggest to them, how would you approach this? To say to your child, how would you approach this differently? If you had a chance to do this again, how would you approach this differently? I know that you've done this in the past. Tell me in the past how this worked well for you, and how can we translate that into the present?
Absolutely.
So what I'm asking everyone to do out there is to wake up and look at your life and recognize the things that you did well and add to and reinforce the things that produce positive outcomes. So at the end of every podcast, what we like to do is give a free prescription. We've given thousands of these. Fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. If we're all not children of the divine, then none of us are. Till all are free, none are free. Stop the slaughter in Gaza. Be good to yourself. Namaste.
please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of fishing without bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.